topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in today. As you heard, I am Kevin Hallinan. Welcome back to Winning Business TV and Radio on W4CY.com. We are streaming live on Talk4TV.com. And, of course, we're on Facebook streaming at Winning Business Radio, as well as we're available in podcast after the live show on tons of platforms, including, you know them, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, pretty much wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular viewers and listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid some of the mistakes of others, right? To learn the best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos, to be challenged and, I hope, to be inspired by the successes of others. But, you know, virtually every successful person that I've ever talked to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. So as I say every week, while we all have to get our knees skinned once in a while, I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it. Today, my guest is, sorry for the word, old friend. It's not your old, it's just we're old friends. Scott MacGregor, founder and CEO of SomethingNew, LLC, and the Outlier Project, and more you'll hear. Here's his bio. Scott MacGregor is an entrepreneur at heart. I first met him as a forward-thinking VP of sales, then chief revenue officer, when he brought me in to train their sales team back in 2011. Since then, his list of accomplishments is nothing short of impressive. He's a 3-time company founder, a 4-time author, magazine publisher, has a ton of awards and accolades to his credit, like a record 8 consecutive American Business Awards for innovation, Best of Staffing winner, for those of you that know NPS, net promoter score of 94.4%. The staffing industry average is 28%. Winner of Sales Executive of the Year, American Business Awards. Founder magazine, 100 top founders to follow. Contributor to Forbes. By 29, he was recruited by a tech startup as chief revenue officer. The youngest national account manager in the history of Fortune 500 company Pitney Bowes, and I have no doubt there are more to come. Scott's a member of the Advisory Council, Harvard Business Review. He's a LinkedIn Hiring Advisors member, is a past chairman of the board for Elevate New York, and a member of the Walter Camp Football Foundation. For those who follow my show and podcast, you know I'm always complimentary where it's warranted, but I never embellish. Okay, wink, wink. I really try not to. Having said that, though, Scott's what I call one of the good guys. He's always been a supporter of mine, always been super helpful. If you were to have a cup of coffee with him, he'd want to get to know you and understand what gets you excited. He truly cares about others, and yet he's been a constant high achiever. He was a high school football state champion, a high school all-star baseball player, earned his undergraduate degree in organizational communications from University of Hartford, has many graduate certificates, including marketing strategy, ethical leadership, viral marketing, and leading diverse teams and organizations from some of the best schools around. He and his wife, Meg, live in Madison, Connecticut. It's a town I know quite well since my brother and sisters and I spent considerable time there with our cousins who lived there as kids. Very fond memory. You may recall that, Scott. Scott, welcome to the show, Winning Business Radio and TV. Appreciate you being here.
Kevin, that was one heck of an introduction, my friend. I mean,
that was not AI. I wrote every word of that.
If that's what 15 years of friendship gives you, like, I'm down for it. Thank you.
No sweat. You earned it, not me. So tell the audience about Madison.
Madison's a magical place. So I never in a million years would have thought that the town I grew up in would be the town I live in today, and the town that my wife grew up in. So it was an interesting place to grow up. So Madison is a shoreline town in Connecticut. I would say pretty to very affluent. I happened to grow up extremely poor. So economically, I stood out like a sore thumb. Athletics kind of leveled the playing field for me. It's a big sports town. So luckily for me, that was a game changer. But I love the town. It's changed over the years, but it's still home for me. And I absolutely love it. I've spent a tremendous amount of my business career in New York and Boston, and it's equidistant between both. So it's been just an absolutely ideal place to live.
I love it. So tell us, other than sports, we know football, baseball, what were your early interests?
You just named them.
Yeah.
I was a sports nut growing up as a kid. Just absolutely obsessed by sports. It took me places that I thought, I aspired to go, but I remember being vividly in elementary school and reading every single autobiography, Mickey Mantle's and Willie Mays and Jim Thorpe and you name it.
Pistol Pete must have been one of those.
I devoured them. Love that. It actually spawned a love for reading that, really was beneficial later in my life. But I learned a lot about history through reading those autobiographies. I was inspired to achieve great things. I saw, examples of people going through tremendous resiliency. I saw humanity at its best. I remember reading Roberto Clemente's biography and just being very inspired by him. So long-winded way. Yeah, sports were my entire, if you saw me in my backyard, I was throwing a baseball against our shed. I was kicking a football around. I was doing something that had to do with sports.
What made you choose Hartford University of and a degree in organizational communications?
Probably, hopefully both interesting answers. So I, like most people, had delusions of grandeur. I graduated, thinking I was going to play in the major leagues. And I wanted to play Division I baseball. Most of my offers were for really good D2, D3 schools, a couple D1s, including UConn and BU. But I was very good friends. I grew up with Jeff Bagwell, who wound up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And, Jeff said, and another guy who wound up playing for the Orioles, Pat Hedge, said, you know what, we're building a great program here. Why don't you check out the school? And I went up on a recruiting visit and met Coach Dennehy, unbelievably inspiring guy, and decided, you know what, it's a D1 program. I think I can play there. And I was very comfortable with Pat and Jeff, having grown up with both of them. So that's, why I decided to go there. I blew my back out. My baseball career ended like that. And I just poured all of that work ethic and discipline and resiliency into school. Organizational communication, I kind of knew I wasn't going to be a doctor. I wasn't going to be a lawyer. I wasn't going to be an accountant. And I was always a relationship guy. So I thought sales was probably where I was going to wind up. And I knew that communication, both, written communication and verbal communication, were going to be really important. So I kind of put myself in a position where those things were going to be things that I had to do in order to graduate. And, turned out to be, I think, a decent choice. No regrets. All
right. So audiences, the viewers and listeners, they're going to learn this before we're done. But characteristic of Scott MacGregor is you never missed a class in 4 years of college. How the heck did you pull that off?
I was on a full ride scholarship because we didn't have any money. And so, I was very, very grateful for those scholarships. So it wasn't one scholarship. It was a bunch of scholarship kind of cobbled together that paid for everything. And I just thought like it was disrespectful to not hold up my end of the bargain. My end of the bargain was, show up. I grew up, I was very, very fortunate. Both of my football coaches are in the Hall of Fame. So I was very fortunate to, be mentored by incredible coaches. And they were just people that instilled a work ethic and that you just didn't miss stuff.
Yeah.
So, that was controllable for me. And it didn't matter, how many beers I drank. I was going to show up for every class, and I did. I never missed one class in 4 years of school.
Outstanding. All right, now the interview is going to take a turn for the better. Okay, it's going to be way more interesting. Tell us about Meg.
Oh, my lovely wife. I grew up. I think every town has somebody that they're kind of the it girl. That was my wife. She was a grade ahead of me. She was signed a modeling contract when she was a senior with Elite in New York, which at the time was, you name the big supermodel at the time, that's who they were with. She was killing it. She was the Ray-Ban girl. She was doing all kinds of stuff, TV, print, in magazines.
But had your picture on her wall.
She barely knew who I was. I was lucky enough to be incredibly good friends with her sister, who was in my grade. Meg and I reconnected 14 years ago and have been married for 12 incredible years.
Love
and
it.
She's also the person who encouraged me 10 years ago to follow my dream and jump off the cliff and become an entrepreneur. And without that support and encouragement, I likely would not have done it because I thought it seemed irresponsible to walk away from a job as a chief revenue officer, making a lot of money. Even though my heart and soul was into building what I thought was really necessary in the talent strategy space. But Meg, gets all the credit for really kicking my ass off the cliff and getting me to do something that I was hesitant to do.
Love that, which we'll talk about shortly. We're going to have one more question for the break, and this is, not a short question, but not a short answer. How did you said you probably were going to be in sales? How'd you know that? How did you navigate to a career in sales? And what would you say are one or two most important lessons from selling as a career?
I knew I was going to be in sales because I knew that, I had already kind of checked off the more obvious things. I didn't know it at the time. I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, which I've done nothing to try to overcome because I think I built kind of all these mechanisms to overcome it throughout my life. So I was, there were certain things that I just struggled with. And I think going to law school or becoming a doctor, it just was not in the cards for me. But I love people. I love building relationships. I can get very passionate about something that I really believe in. And I had a mentor growing up. His name was Ken Green. He was my best friend's dad. He was the vice president of sales. And I'm like, this guy, he dresses the part. Looks like he makes really good money. I like the things that he did. He had super, super high integrity. So I think I really got lucky, Kevin, early on that I didn't have all those preconceived notions that a lot of people have about a career in sales. I think a lot of people think of the dirtier side of sales. And I thought of sales as a profession to aspire to. And I thought my skill set was tailored to it. And I also love the fact that I was told very early on, you control your destiny.
Yes.
It's how hard you decide to work. It's how, resilient you are, how much you can bounce back. And having gone through lots and lots of life struggles. I knew I was super resilient. So getting a no in sales was kind of like a nothing to me. And it didn't deter me at all. And I loved the challenge. I saw sales as very much akin to sports. There was a scoreboard, and I loved that.
You bet.
And I wanted to be on the top of that leaderboard. So that's what really drew me to sales. And it turned out to be, especially later on as an entrepreneur, such a key thing, because I think some entrepreneurs get into it. They're subject matter experts. They're passionate, but they have to wear that sales and marketing hat for the first time.
Yeah.
And that becomes very challenging. For me, that was the easy part.
Love it. That's a great answer. All right. We're going to take our first break right here. Everybody, we'll be back with Scott MacGregor. He's founder and CEO of Something New LLC and the Outlier Project. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Have you ever dreamt of being on the radio? Well, now is your chance. Be a radio show guest on the #1 ranked internet radio station and promote you and your business for free. Yes, you heard it, free. Business advertising right here on W4CY.com. Call 561-506-4031 now to get booked on one of our shows. That's 561-506-4031. Get your free advertising now.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We are back with Scott MacGregor. He's founder and CEO of Something New LLC, as well as the Outlier Project. One other firm we'll talk about in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about two particular roles. Icon, you were at Icon, lots of success. You were named the youngest national account manager in the history of the company. How did that happen?
That was actually at Pitney Bowes.
Oh, Pitney Bowes. Excuse me. I knew that and had the wrong. Yep. That was a typo on my part. Yep.
I've always been pretty strategic. So I left a company to go to Pitney because it was Fortune 500 company. And I thought, boy, having that on my resume, I know is going to be helpful. I'll see what happens. And I knew there was going to be opportunity if I did well to do different things. Mm-hmm. So I took that job and strategically moved from one division to the next, which is actually not an easy thing to do within Pitney Bowes. It was kind of frowned upon. I was incredibly lucky. I had a sales manager. His name was Spencer Glickman, and not a great sales manager, but a wonderful person because he gave me this opportunity. I was his #1 sales rep, and I was literally writing his team's quota. And wow. I got an opportunity from a gentleman. His name is Don Poster. And he said, I'd like you to come over and be a national account manager in a different division. And I had to get permission from Spencer to do that. So I remember, going, oh boy, went into Spencer's office and I said, here's this opportunity in front of me. It'll put me in a position to be the youngest national account manager in the history of the company, which at the time the company was probably 80 years old. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's really something I want to do, but you really hold the keys. And I understand the position that it puts you in because of the business that I was writing for his team, mm-hmm. And he didn't really even hesitate. He gave his blessing, and without that, it wouldn't have happened. And that was a very strategic move. I wound up doing that job for a couple of years and did very well. and then had an opportunity at still a very young age to take a job as a sales manager in a different division. And I jumped on that because I wanted that leadership experience, and was able to get it. So I owe a lot to so many people in my life, from Spencer Glickman, who let me leave, to Don Poster, who believed in me, at 20 something years old, to be a national account manager, which was a job most people within Pitney Bowes, they really worked their entire career to get to that job, because that's kind of like the pinnacle at Pitney. And I'm just super fortunate and very, very grateful.
And then Flowtech, that's where we met. You were hugely instrumental in getting me in there. We had a good partnership for a number of years. You were there for 17 years, and that's what I want to talk about. In the world of selling, it, we're laughing, right? It's unheard of, but yet you were there, and you were there very productively. Talk about how did you set out to be there that long? I want people to hear about that.
I knew that the opportunity to lead up and build a sales, marketing, and customer success department was going to be meaningful. I mean, it was a 5-person startup when I went there. I was 29 years old, and I really thought, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
I've got the background of a Fortune 500 company. I could very easily go back if I wanted to. But again, thinking somewhat strategically, I thought, if this goes well, it's probably going to bode very well for me and open up some opportunities. I didn't really know exactly what that would look like. And if it didn't, when it blew up, I could go back and do something else, or, people would just say, well, it's a startup, you took the chance. And, I was able to build something from scratch. There was no sales department. There was no marketing department. There was no client success. So over the course of 17 years, we grew it from 5 people to 300, grew double digits every single year for 17 straight years, which in the beginning was incredibly easy. You start basically from scratch. Yeah. When you're starting to do 30, 40 million, and you're still growing at double digits, that's a little bit more daunting. It was a great, great experience. I would say for the last number of years that I was there, I was dreaming and building this fictitious company in my head that I did not have the guts to actually start until Meg gave me that encouragement. But I wouldn't trade that experience. I learned a tremendous amount. I give Leo Benetti a lot of credit. He let a 29-year-old really kind of, this part, Kevin, is absolutely crazy to me. I didn't think of it as crazy at the time. So 2020, COVID, all of a sudden, everyone's talking about working virtual.
Yep.
And I had built a solely virtual sales force 27 years ago. And people act like it's revolutionary now. It's, it just made sense to me. If you hired the right people, if you knew what you were doing, why not let them work from home? Why not hire the best people from wherever they happen to be? You
did have good people too. You had a good group of people there, lived and worked in their markets.
Team. Yeah. We went 9 years and didn't lose a person, which, I'm never going to be in the Guinness World Book of Records, but if I ever was, it would probably be for that. I don't think many people go 9 years and don't lose anybody.
A couple of those guys are still there.
And a bunch of them are still there, making crazy money.
Yeah. Shout out to Matt.
Yep.
$1
million Matt.
Yeah, no kidding. And he was a kid, right? When I first met him, when you first met him. All right. Now tell us this dream. I want to know what's behind the name. I think I do, but Something New LLC. Tell us, people don't know it, who they are, what they are, what you are, who it is. Describe it.
It's a talent strategy business, but it grew out of, when you're growing double digits every single year for 17 straight years, we're constantly hiring people. In 2007, 2008, during the recession, no one was hiring. So every recruiter and their brother was calling me saying, we have great talent. Please use us, because we were hiring people like crazy. I was drinking from a fire hose every single day. So I thought, boy, if I can outsource anything, I'm going to give it a shot. So I was trying to outsource our talent acquisition to recruiters. And I just kept being very, very frustrated that the industry was very antiquated. It was very dysfunctional. And I had bad experience after bad experience. And I knew that the key to business was hiring the right people. I knew it wasn't our technology. I knew it wasn't our products or services. I knew it was our people that would make or break us. And that's no different from any company. You could be Apple, Google, or a startup. You're going to succeed or fail based on the people you hire. And I wasn't getting that support. So in my mind, I created this different version that would solve all of the problems that I had. So not rocket science, just identifying all the frustrations that I had and saying, what can I do that would be different so that I could build a better mousetrap and ultimately help other startups with what I think is the most important thing you need to do in business, which is hire the right people and build the right team. So that's what Something New is. To stay true to our name, we had to be innovative. That's why, I'm very, very proud of 8 consecutive American Business Awards for innovation. So, it's easy to innovate or be creative once. You do that year after year after year after year after year. It's meaningful, but I wanted to name the company Something New because I wanted to put that stamp on it that this was not your same old, same old. This was a totally different mousetrap. And I was happy to try to prove it.
And tell us about the culture. You said people are important. What else is important to you?
I mean, I believe in people over everything. I believe that, people make or break you. It's the secret. I believe in basic stuff, work ethic and resiliency. When I talk to founders and they're telling me that they want somebody with industry experience and they want this or that, I think those are all things you could teach somebody. It's really hard to teach somebody work ethic, discipline, and resiliency. So, when I first got into leadership, this was back at Pitney Bowes, I took a team over that was under 40% of quota, and I fired everybody except for one person. And I built a team that looked kind of like the Bad News Bears, but what they had was incredible work ethic and resiliency and discipline. And we wound up becoming the number one team in the country out of almost 200 teams. So I knew that was the secret. So I value those things way, way more than the things that are very, very visible and very obvious to see, which is, what industry did you work in? How many years experience? I really don't care about that stuff at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I see it every day. People put the wrong part first. How difficult was it to start the company, and who were your first clients?
It wasn't really hard to start the business, to be honest, because I'd been thinking about it for 10 years. So I knew what our differentiators were going to be. I knew who our market was going to be. I had it very dialed in, not because I'm smart, but because I had a decade to think about it. And then because I had a lot of really good relationships, I was able to get some low-hanging fruit right away. And that just spiraled into some really substantial relationships. And then we hooked into a couple venture capital firms that really became kind of the flywheel to our success, because every time they invested in a new portfolio company, that business became our business. So we never had to prospect for business, which is why you and I never reconvened and did sales training, because we always had a business development mechanism built in because of our relationships with venture capital firms.
All right. Hold that thought right there. We're going to take our second break. We'll be back in about a minute with Scott MacGregor.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
The YP.com website is your local search engine. If you're looking for a good restaurant, it can help you find the right one nearby with ratings and reviews. Or if your car breaks down, you can use the YP app to find the closest repair shop. Or maybe you're just looking for something to do on a Friday night. Well, it has great local coupons for all sorts of things in your area. No matter what, when, or where, if you're looking for something, YP Local Search can help you find it. So go to YP.com or download the app to search local, find local, and save local.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind: to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
All right. I want to know about Softland Partners. Tell us about Softland Partners.
Softland Partners, we started doing business with a lot of companies that were not based in the United States, but wanted a presence in the United States. So a friend of mine, Bill Kinney, started Softland Partners, which helps companies establish a presence in the U.S. So it's an organization that I've been involved with for a number of different years, probably about 5 years now. And that part of our business is not a big part of Something New's business plan right now, but at one point it was a pretty substantial part of our business. We had about 40 customers who were not based in the United States. They were all over the world, but they wanted to set up a presence in the U.S., and we helped them do that. And Softland Partners really was a part of that.
Sounds like some law, maybe some immigration, various things, as well as cultural understanding, probably, right?
A lot of it cultural, a lot of it understanding, how that dynamic was going to work between the mothership in, Germany, Japan, UK, you name it, and the US. So it was a fascinating period of time. It is, turned into a very, very small part of our business. But at one point it was a substantial part of our business. Again,
clever. All right. The Outlier Project. I am proud to say I'm a founding member. It's in my LinkedIn bio. Go check it out. Anybody want to check it out? Tell the folks about the Outlier Project.
The Outlier Project is the most professional fun I've ever had in 30 years. So I didn't want to build another 300 employee company, but I wanted to build something that was impactful, something that had a give back component, something where I could share some of the amazing people that I've built friendships with over the years. And I knew that a community would afford me that opportunity. And I love to help people maximize their life and understand that the dash between the dates has got to be meaningful. We cannot sleepwalk through life. This is it. We have one at bat. And I personally want to live an extraordinary life. Now, my definition of extraordinary might be different from other people's.
That's fair. Yeah.
But I really believe that building an organization of outliers, I always knew I was an outlier. As a kid, I thought differently. In school, I thought differently. In business, I definitely thought very, very differently. And I knew that going with the thundering herd, while it seemed like the safe route, was not the secret to success. It was taking the road less traveled. So starting something like the Outlier Project was, something that I was very passionate about. And now I'm like over the moon excited about what we're doing. We have about 750 members in 34 countries and growing like crazy, and just really, really, truly changing lives at scale.
Mm. And some of the folks that you bring in and expose to members are incredible. Olympians, professional athletes, business leaders. What's the common thread there?
They're all incredibly resilient. Whether you're talking to Hap Claw, who started North Face in 1968, or you're talking to Joe Foster, who started Reebok in 1958, or whether you're talking to Brandy Chastain, who, has 2 Olympic gold medals, or you're talking to Merrill Hodge, who played for the Steelers, or you're talking to Rudy Rudiger, they have all gone through major adversity. And their resiliency and their mindset, I would say mindset is the common denominator, but that mindset comes probably in part from the adversity that they've overcome in life. And that has led them to live extraordinary lives and accomplish incredible things. And I've always been drawn to people that have accomplished great things. It doesn't matter whether it's in entertainment or sports or cooking or the arts, or it doesn't matter. It's fascinating to me.
Give me 1 second. I should have had this teed up. I can't find his name. You'd know him in 2 seconds. The climber.
Could be Colin O'Brady.
It is Colin O'Brady. Tell us just a little bit about his story. To me, that's
Colin O'Brady's a good friend of mine. He has 11 world records. So too many to mention right now, but probably the most prominent are he has summited the highest summits on every continent and gone to the North and South Pole. And he did that quicker than anyone in world history. And he was the first person ever to walk across Antarctica unaided and unsupported. So pulling a sled that weighed hundreds and hundreds of pounds. He's just a remarkable guy. Yale grad, was burned severely in Thailand when he had graduated from Yale. They said he might never walk normally again, and now has accomplished some of the greatest feats in human history. So he's just a tremendous guy, a great friend, somebody that I draw inspiration from all the time.
And I'm not necessarily trying to highlight him. I'm trying to highlight the type of personality and the type of human person with the mindset of, to me, dealing with adversity is huge, right? We all do. Some are more dramatic, some are less dramatic, but we all have adversity to overcome. And he's just a really good example of the type of people that members of the Outlier Project are exposed to. And I went to a global leadership summit last week, and there were some incredible Coach K. Just the knowledge and wisdom, more wisdom that guy has. Drawing a blank. There's an incredibly powerful woman who founded a sports management firm. I'll look up her name before we're done, but just powerful, mentally powerful, and high achievers, right?
Yep.
And so I'm going to get back to the magazine and the Standing O series in a moment here, but you don't want to be ordinary. I've known that about you for a long time. Why not And what does that look like? And what would you say to others to encourage them to not be ordinary?
I don't want to be ordinary because it's boring. I've got one at bat. I'm going to maximize this life that I've been given. And, I've got a choice. Everyone that I just mentioned, they were extraordinary, not because they were born with Michael Jordan's DNA or Steve Jobs' brain. They're extraordinary because of the choices that they made. They chose to live an extraordinary life. And I think we all have that choice. And all of a sudden, when I think, okay, here's this kid who grew up, with not a lot of economic means, but I've lived my version of an extraordinary life. Now, my version has to do with impact, because I truly believe that when all is said and done, no one is going to care about the companies I built. They're not going to care about the books I've written. They're not going to care about the house I live in or the car I drive. They are going to care about the impact that I made. I just lost a very good friend last week, John Rulin, who wrote a book called Giftology. And while John passed way, way too soon in his 40s, he left an indelible impact on tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And to me, that's what it's all about. So my version of living an extraordinary life is a life of impact.
And for those of you that don't know, which is probably most people listening here, don't know Scott, he's characterized, sorry, I'm gonna probably embarrass you a little bit. I've seen comment after comment after comment of people that have met you and you're a powerful network or connector, but they always say, so many of these people have said, but he gets to know you. He's a friend. He's not just in it for you. In fact, you're a giver. You're very generous. You are, you give back a lot. If we have time, we'll talk about that. But, it's genuine for you. You're truly trying to lift up others around you.
It's just fun.
Testament.
Life is more fun that way. It's this is a team game. This is a team sport. Like, we're better together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mention a few things where you have given back. Walter Camp Football Foundation Charitable Corporation, Blankets of Hope, College Collections, Team Red, White, and Blue, Close to Free, Wounded Warrior Project, Ronald McDonald House Charities, Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation, Elevate New York, Look for the Good, and I'm sure there are others. What would you say to others to encourage them to find something important to them and to make a difference? And it doesn't take much.
Nothing feels better than giving back. When I started my company, Something New, 10 years ago, giving back was incredibly important to me, but I had a major problem. I knew I was going to bootstrap the company because I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I didn't want to take outside money to grow the company. So I had a big dilemma. I knew I was going to pour all the money back into the business to help it grow. And I thought, oh boy, what am I going to do? I can't write checks for these organizations that mean so much to me. And I thought, what are my assets? And my assets were the relationships that I built with extraordinary people over decades. And I thought, let me ask 52 friends to write chapters of gratitude for a life lesson learned, and then I'll put it in a book and I'll give all the money to charity. So that was a book called Standing O. And
right
Dick
behind
Vermeil,
you, over your shoulder, talk about those. Go ahead. Yep.
Dick Vermeil won a Super Bowl with the Rams and is in the National Football Hall of Fame. He wrote the foreword. Tiki Barber, who's a longtime friend and all-time great for the New York Giants, he wrote the cover quote. And then 52 amazing people wrote chapters of gratitude. And then I've kept doing that. I figure I had more than 52 friends. So did it again with a book called Standing O Encore. And then I have a huge affinity for the military. Both of my boys served in the military. So I wrote a book purely for the military called Standing O Salute. And then I wrote a book called Standing O Tribute. And we have Standing O Honor coming out later this year.
I was going to ask what's next. Yeah. Looking forward to that one. All right. This is a big question. Take it anywhere you want. What are you, and this is probably a limiting question too, so feel free not to consider it as a single answer. What are you most proud of in your professional career thus far?
I've withstood all the body blows. I've been resilient through, we had broken into the New York market not that long before 9/11. And, I had to navigate not only that environment, but also just trying to figure out how do we continue to sell in an environment where it just really doesn't seem appropriate to sell anything. And whether it was that or COVID or 2008 or whatever the case may be, you're always going to get hit by a bus. It's just a matter of how resilient you are. So I think I'm very proud of the fact that I've been able to withstand the body blows, and I've been able to, for my family, for my employees, for my friends, for the people that rely on me, I've been able to stay very steady in stormy weather. I'm probably proudest of that.
Outstanding. About 2 minutes left. What do you do when you're not working?
I hang out with Meg an awful lot. I work a ton, but because I enjoy it, I've been an empty nester for a long time. Definitely into challenging myself. So whether that's climbing the equivalent of Mount Everest in a weekend, I've done that numerous times. It's called 29029. To doing things like the Calendar Club or you name it. I like to challenge myself. So luckily I have a partner in Meg that loves to do the same stuff. So we're always off to our next adventure.
Love it. All right. Who in the listening audiences and viewing audiences, should reach out to you and why?
Anybody, that wants to learn about, how to live an extraordinary life. I think the Outlier Project is a tremendous resource. I think it's extremely unique. So anybody that, needs that in their life, anybody that is struggling, I have gone through a tremendous amount of adversity, kids with drug problems and jail and all kinds of things that I would have never fathomed would have happened with my children. And I love the ability to help people that are going through similar challenges. So, I think if people feel compelled to reach out to me. LinkedIn is my social media platform of choice. Reach out to me there. I love to connect with people and build real relationships. I'm not a transactional guy. I want to build real, long-lasting relationships like the one that we've had for, we're closer to probably 2 decades than we are to 1.
You bet. I've enjoyed it. So it's trysomethingNewNow.com is the firm website. The outlierproject.co is the other. They were both on the crawl. I'm sure people saw those. Scott MacGregor, MAC. That's the correct
Scottish
way
version.
to spell it on LinkedIn. Scott, it's been awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Kevin, you are the man. I love you, Coach. And you've meant a lot to me throughout the years. And I appreciate this conversation very much.
Thank you. And listen, thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is a show about business, often business challenges. If you've got concerns about the growth of your company, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn at Winning Business Radio or my name. Drop me a note if you like. It's kevin@winningbusinessradio.com. As I say, one of my many email addresses. Our company is Winning Incorporated. We're part of Sandler Training. We develop sales teams into high achievers and sales leaders into true coaches and mentors. Listen, we're not right for everybody, but maybe we should have a conversation. Thank you to producer and engineer Juan. Appreciate you, Juan, for another job well done. Be sure to join us, everybody, next Monday, August 19th. My guest will be good friend David Clayman, co-founder and CEO of 12 Points Wealth Management and the 12 Points family of companies. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.